Hey everybody, this is Chris, and I have a really good video for you today, so you do not want to miss 1 ounce of this video. And trust me, I'm not saying that just so you'll watch the whole thing. You will learn several things today about the Autel Evo Nano Plus, and if you are interested in this quad or you own this quad, I highly recommend you do not skip. You watch this whole video. I'll try to make it as short and painless as possible. But first, we're going to talk about firmware updates. We're going to talk about what's fixed. We're going to talk about what's still not working, and we're going to actually show it on video as well. So you'll be going outside with me and seeing some of those things as well. But again, I'm going to make this quick and painless. First, I just want to say, make no mistakes. I know what's going on with this quad. I know that technically this has not been released by Autel yet. They're not sending it to at least any U.S. suppliers. If they have sent it to U.S. suppliers, they're asked to hit the brakes. It's not technically released yet. I purchased mine from Autel Pilot. You can also get it at RC Going. I think these are probably just greedy sellers getting these early sales. And now Autel Pilot's wanting to charge you $150 just in shipping alone. So technically this has not been released is what I'm going with. The reason I say make no mistakes, I know what's going on. It's just because one post I made, people are acting like I'm shocked that this thing is not working the way it is. These companies that sent it, shame on them. So shame on Autel Pilot. When I purchased it, I actually did think it was released. It was available, and I purchased it. But in this case, since they were technically asked not to sell it, shame on them. But I also say shame on Autel. Autel shouldn't be sending it to these customers if it's not ready, or these sellers if it's not ready. This is what happens. You send it to them. They want to get a little bit greedy, and they sell it. So enough of all the politics of this. So what we have here is I am a owner of an unreleased quad along with a bunch of others, all getting them basically from the same 2 places. I've never heard anybody say they've gotten it anywhere else yet. But I have my handy little list here. We have so much to talk about, but I'm going to do it very quickly. So bear with me here. First, I also just wanted, before I get into this, I also want to say I have been flying this thing almost every day. I try to fly it every day, whether I'm just cruising around, messing around, or trying different combinations to try to get things to work. Because sometimes when firmware is buggy, you can try different combinations. Like early on, I discovered if you have it set, if you have recording on, then you can go and change your Kelvin and like your exposure. And if you turn it off, you can't make those adjustments. So those are the kind of combinations I'm talking about. But my reason for flying it as much as I've been flying it is just so I can be so familiar with this quad that when they make a change, like bug fixes, and don't tell us what those bugs are, hopefully I can spot it right away. And I have spotted some things, and they have fixed some things. So let's just go over it. I want to give you the warnings. And again, this is not a video you want to skip through, because you're going to learn some things and you're going to see it actually happen, not just me saying it. So the firmware, I want to give you a big warning here because Ken at Original Dobo, he semi-bricked his quad after an update, and he got stuck in a boot loop. And luckily, as he says, by the grace of God, he got through it and was able to get out of that boot loop. But here's what I found in doing the firmware update. I've paid close attention to this last firmware update. The most current firmware update is version 1.0.9. And doing that update, I noticed that the update interface closed before it hit 100%. And as soon as it closed, I was ready to go turn off the quad and the controller to reboot them like I do after a firmware update. But I then noticed that the indicator on the back here was flashing green. Now, fortunately, I know that it needs to be solid green. Your firmware update is not complete unless you have a solid green light. So I waited what felt like probably another 2 minutes, and then that light turned solid green. So you got to be real careful, because it wasn't doing this before, and now it did it on this last update. If that update app closes and your quad is still flashing solid green on this indicator light back here, leave it alone. I mean, if it's still flashing green on this indicator light back here, leave it alone. Let it sit and wait for it to go solid green, and then your update's complete. I still waited a little bit longer after that just to be sure. Actually, I waited for it to give me that message, gimbal initializing, because it does that like every 15 seconds. I waited till I heard that, and then I knew all was good to go, and I rebooted everything. So I did not have to update my batteries on this last update, just to let you guys know that. When you upgraded from whatever the version was to 1.0.8, you also had to update every single battery. Since updating those batteries, I didn't have to do it again. But the other warning I have for you, aside from that firmware interface closing, downward sensors do not work. They absolutely don't do anything. So just keep that in mind as a safety thing when you're flying. Forward sensors, this one I really wanted to test, because I came up with a theory. I was pretty dead set on that theory, and I think I was right, which you're going to see in video here soon. But I've been watching plenty of reviewers. I might repeat this in the video you're going to see, I don't know. But I've been watching plenty of reviewers, and some of them, it was dead obvious. They're flying and they want to test the obstacle avoidance, and they go towards, say, their vehicle, and oh no, it's going to hit, and they back off. And then later they come around and they go to like the back of their vehicle, and oh, it works, it stops. So they're saying, you know, it works for one time and it doesn't the next time. I don't know what's going on, you know. So for me, I find that weird, because it's either going to work or it's not going to work, is how that should be. Bottom sensors never work, period. Something is wrong there. No further investigation needed. But when I see that it's working extremely sensitive one time and then not working the next time, you got to figure out, why is it? Something is affecting that. So I figured it out. My theory is the sun pointing into the forward-facing sensors, in this case is how I tested it, and flying it straight at me. So we're going to see if it stops with the sun behind it, and we're going to see if it stops with the sun in front of it, or if it tries to knock my clock. So watch this portion of the test and see how the test goes with the forward-facing sensors, and also real quick showing you the bottom downward sensors not working. So take a look at that part of the video. Okay, I have it all lined up. The wind all of a sudden kicked up, and I don't know if I had enough satellites or not, but it wasn't acting right. So let's fly it directly at me with the sun behind it and see what happens. Okay, so it comes at me, stops, and will not go any further, won't go over me or around me. So now we'll point it towards the sun while we still have the sun, and we'll check that out. All right, let's turn the camera a little bit here. I don't know if you can see me. You hear it beeping now. It's detecting a tree behind it, so. And I think I'm lined up. pretty bad. Let me bring it a little lower, we'll try that. But it tried to clock me. Back up to the tree. Bring it down a little this time. It's reading the tree as we speak. Yeah, it'll come right at me. Let's try this direction. The sun off to its side a little bit. It's detecting the tree. Backing up. Okay, let's come forward. That's pretty close. That's pretty damn close. Come at me now. It won't come at me. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, it almost took my head off. So when it's pointing at the sun, the sensors are blocked that way. So obviously, bright light affects the sensors. So I'm gonna fly over to my car real quick, see if you can see that. Yeah. Now you're probably not gonna be able to see it well, but we'll hear it here. I'm not doing a screen recording, but we're just gonna go. Actually, let's just do it with my hand. So here. Bottom sensors don't appear to do anything. Okay, so I think that's a firm test right there that the forward-facing sensors work as long as the sun is not shining down on them. Now, to be fair, I have tested this with my other quads that have sensors, and sun does not affect them this way. They did not try to take my head off like this one did. So it's something that they must have to adjust there as far as the exposure or whatever in those sensors. So that's the sensor portion of it. Now the next thing, that is another warning. I'm going through all the warnings first. This is the last warning. Serial numbers. This is very important, guys. Very important. Your serial number inside the quad and on the box should match. And you can simply take your battery out and you can read it, but there's a little QR code in there. You can scan that and then your serial number pops up on your phone. So that serial number matched my box. On your box, your serial numbers, your serial numbers here on your box. So on that box and in my quad, that serial number matches. But go into your app where it says About. On your app screen, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it here, but we'll go into the settings real fast, and I think you can not see it. Yeah, it's too bright. But down in the bottom left-hand corner, click your settings, and then your settings are in the upper right-hand corner, and then in the bottom right-hand or left-hand corner, you'll click About, and it will tell you your serial number of your quad. I've confirmed this with a few other people. The serial number in the app does not match what is on the sticker of the quad or the box. So I called Autel, and asked the gentleman that I spoke with. I asked him about this issue with the serial numbers. I was also asking him for a list of exactly what was in the firmware updates. But I recorded the conversation, so here's what he had to say. While I was doing the editing, I realized that when I do a screen recording, while on the phone talking to somebody, it will record it, but it won't do the voice recording. So it did not record our conversation. Maybe that's for privacy privacy issues, but it didn't work in this case. But he clearly said, do not go by the serial number in the quad or on the box. Go by what's on the app, because it's electronically recorded. That seems a little odd, but back to the video. Make sure you go by the serial number inside the app. It still might make you a little uncomfortable because you have a serial number on the quad, but you have to go with what it says on the app. And like he said, it's because that's what's electronically recorded. And say if you send it in for service, that's the serial number they're going to go by. So my serial number is different from what is on the box and quad, and I guarantee yours is too, because so far I haven't. Anybody I've talked to with this has not told me it all matches. So that leads me to registering your quad. When you purchase Autel Care, it will take you to a section where you enter the serial number. Mine kept telling me, nope, it will not take the serial number. It doesn't recognize that serial number. So I haven't done it yet because they've already confirmed an email that I'm covered and everything. I got them to do it in writing with the serial number that it gives me in the app. So I'm not going to register it electronically and mess anything up. But if you're having a problem after purchasing Autel Care and it doesn't accept your serial number, go with the serial number that's in the app and see if it accepts that one. I'd be interested to hear that in the comments if that works for you. So that's all the warnings. It's not terrible for warnings. So firmware updates, and we're going to call these firmware update attempts, and we're going to include version 1.0.8 and 1.0.9 in this all together. I didn't do any specific order here, but we have a list. What has changed with the firmware versions 1.0 and 8, 1.0, 1.0.9? We have two versions. We've had two fast updates here. We have had some things fixed. So both those versions also have had new app updates. So we have new app updates as well. No fly zones were added, and this raised some alarm. Some people were saying they can't take off at all in their no-fly zone near an airport. I did not believe that. I'm not calling anybody liars, but I like to see proof. So I asked for proof. I've never received 1 ounce of proof, and I decided to go out and prove it myself. I actually went to the front door of an airport here locally, and I proved the fact. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll attach it to the end of this one and you can click it and watch that. Literally went to the airport, to their front door in their parking lot with the Nano and powered it. I did not fly it. Do not recommend you fly it. I do not recommend you do that test. I recommend you go by all the rules and the laws, regulations, everything the FAA requires, and not do what I did. I did it to prove a point, and that can be taken as a safety point to let you know, use caution, because you can fly at an airport. Again, I did not fly at the airport. Oh, it's so sad that you have to say all that stuff because of the drone police out there. But currently, no fly zones don't work. Doesn't even prompt you. So it was kind of a moot point anyhow. But it's a good video to go watch. So again, it's at the end of this video. Click on that app, or click on that when you get to the end of this video, and check that one out. Okay, so we had app interface change. That was definitely something that changed. No big deal whatsoever, just very, very minor stuff. Pretty much in the first stage home interface, you see a little difference like in the start button and things. We have a firmware update interface change. I really didn't notice anything, but I did notice with that second firmware update, there was an issue, and like I explained in the beginning of this video. Those of you who do not skip in the video caught exactly what I said. Gimbal tilt. Mine seems to be fine. Gimbal tilt is a hard one. I watch all these videos of people and they say the horizon is crooked. And some of them I disagree. I think the horizon is perfectly fine. I think they just can't judge their own terrain. Like where I live, it's really hard, and I can fly any quad and somebody will say, hey, your horizon's crooked. But you always have to look at what's down below and above. And when I say above, look at the clouds. If you have clouds that are, elongated clouds, you can see if those are crooked or straight. Down below, especially in my videos, flying over a lot of water, water's always level, unless it's a waterfall, but water is always level. It's a good judgment point. Buildings and things like that are generally level. Vertical is a good viewpoint. If it looks like a leaning tower, then yeah, your gimbal is off. So I think for the most part, mine has been fine. I've talked to some others; theirs has been fine. Talked to some others, and they are having gimbal issues. It might be something totally in the way you're calibrating your quad, or maybe you just haven't calibrated it. After firmware updates, make sure you go through and do all those calibrations again. I also have a video on that, so I'll attach that to the end of this one as well. What else do we have? SD card formatting was a issue for me. They did a fix for the SD card not being recognized. Now for me, it wasn't being recognized on my computer after I updated it on the quad. So formatted it on the quad. I would format it on the quad, stick it in my computer, and then it wasn't recognizable. So then I would have to format it onto a computer, put it in the quad, and it would work perfectly fine. Since the firmware update, I tested that, and like magic, it's working. So they fixed that. Appears to be perfectly fine. And then audio recording in your video. Some of you might not know what this is, but when you're recording, it will also record your voice, everything you say while you're flying. And then when you're done recording, it instantly puts that into the photo, with the photos on my iPhone. And I don't know if this is working on Android, but on mine it works 100% of the time now. And I love it because that video I can put, say I'm flying and I'm recording with the quad, and then it's also recording my voice and creating that file. When I'm done and I go into editing, I put in my SD card flight footage, and then I take that file, I put it directly above it. It matches frame for frame, and then all I do is I detach audio, and all the audio matches up perfectly to my SD card footage if I'm doing a flight tutorial or something like that where I'm talking. So I love it. I love it because it just instantly matches up. I don't have to line it up and fix that myself. So that works 100% of the time now. It was working like 1 every 7 flights. And now it seems to be working. So that might have been one of those known bugs. The other big one is camera settings. Thank God for the camera settings working, but it's a little ass backwards. The camera settings now work, and then first let me explain this. I call it combination solving. You have to find the right combination sometimes to make things work. Now, early on, before any of these firmware updates, I learned that if I click record, then I can adjust my Kelvin and my exposure and keep it locked up without the exposure changing. Only if I hit record first. If I didn't have it recording, it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't work. So then I just, each update, keep playing with it, try all these different combinations. On 1.0.8, I didn't have any change whatsoever. I was a little disappointed there, but wasn't really expecting it yet to be fixed. So then 1.0.9, this newest one we got a couple days ago. It works when you're flying. You have to be up in the air flying. I didn't pay attention if it matters if you're 2 feet off the ground or 10 feet off the ground. But I'm going to show you in this video here the actual footage of me adjusting the camera. But you have to be flying in order for that to work. So I'm not sure if this is a way that they're going to keep it, but I think it's very goofy. I don't even know if they know that this happened, if they even know they fixed it this way. But because it was not mentioned in the firmware updates, but again, there's those bug fixes. Bug fixes fix a lot of things, and it's usually things we don't want to admit. So they'll maybe get this camera working ass backwards like it is, and then they'll give us an update and say, fix some known camera issues. But you can adjust pretty much everything now. You'll see it in my footage. I didn't get into full detail to see exactly how things are or are not working, but take a look at this video. I've got it up in the air pointing down over my neighborhood, and just show you that you do have the camera settings now, and this is just a beautiful thing. I'm so happy that we have this. So take a look. Okay, everybody, so here's the camera settings now. We're in video, and this is all automatic. So if you want to go and set the camera settings now, as of this newest version, 1.0.9, I have been playing with this thing to death, and I have not been able to set the camera settings. And I've tried it in all kinds of different ways, including the way I'm going to show you right now. So for me, on iOS, it started working, but you can only do it when in flight. So we are in flight. This is your automatic settings here. This is manual. That's shutter focused. So on manual, you can see I have my zebra stripes on, and we're not going to be trying to set it, but I'm just going to show you. You've seen me try in the past. Now you can see we change high exposure and then brings it down. So right here, and it's only 6 degrees out right now, so if you're seeing any shake and shutter, that's the issue I've got. It's just cold. So just to show you, so I've got it at 100 there. Let's go to here and go up. Darkens up, bring it down, brightens up. Okay, and then of course white balance, you can adjust your Kelvin. It's at 53 there. Let's take it down. Very blue. Again, I'm not trying to set it to where I win any awards here. But you can see, as I'm adjusting this, and things get brighter, and then things get bluer. So your Kelvin is what takes you from more of like a natural light to a bright white, like a more of an incandescent to a bright color. And you also will be able to go in and do your sunny day, your cloudy day, incandescent, and so forth. So put it back on sunny, and yeah, that's it. So you can adjust the camera settings, and that is awesome. I'm very happy for that. I just would like to adjust them before I take off. No big deal, at least they work. So it's going to return to home. I better cancel it, and that's the end of this part of the video. Okay, so you can see that the camera settings work. If you're not real comfortable doing camera settings manually, just doing video, this thing shoots some beautiful quality. But here's an important note I want to make. Some people they call it different things. Some people are saying flicker. Some people are saying shake. Some people are calling it jello when it's really not jello. Some people are having legitimate jello, but some of these little inconsistencies is what I'm going to call them that you'll find in your video, you can hopefully adjust those out now with an adjustment like shutter. So make sure you, before you get all crazy thinking I got to return this quad, it's a defective camera, or I want my money back or anything like that. Try playing with your shutter, try playing with your camera settings, and see if you can make those issues go away. It's premature to jump to conclusions until we have camera settings. So now we do. Now you can test that theory and see if you can get rid of some of these little inconsistencies in the video. And speaking of the camera, this baby doesn't like the cold. Everything you've seen me do so far in this video, the examples I showed you, I think it was like, it fluctuated between, because I started in the morning, and then it started at like 8 degrees, and then the high was maybe 12 degrees. But first battery, keep this thing nice and warm inside. First battery, it's generally really fine. You bring it back, put that second battery in, and then you're out flying, and then all of a sudden your video's got all these waves in it, and your gimbal is getting stiff on you. That's more of a mechanical thing. I don't know that they'll ever be able to solve that unless they do a different production line with their dampers or their gimbal frame layout. And last, sport mode. Did they fix sport mode in this update for known bugs? Take a look at the video.
Stop recording. Start recording.
I didn't hear what she just said. I think she said stop recording and start recording. So anyhow, if it did stop recording, I'm not going to change my camera settings or anything. But let's get it about right there. We're in sport mode. So I have it in meters per second, and I'm doing this because that's how they advertise it. So we're looking for 15 meters per second. So let's go full throttle in sport mode. And it can't even get over 10 meters a second. So we're at 10 meters a second. Let's bring it back. Let's go. I'm trying to determine where the wind is. Right now the wind's blowing at my side. So let's go over this direction about to the mountain there. And it should put the tailwind at it. See if we go faster. Yeah, so it's got the wind behind it now. 12 meters a second. I can never get over 12 meters a second with it. So we're going to say that sport mode is still not fixed. That's the end of that test. Still no sport mode. This one's actually very disappointing to me because when I get caught out there in the wind, I need that extra 5 meters a second, and I can only get 2 meters a second more. I've never broke 12 meters a second on this quad. So standard mode is 10 meters a second, and then in sport mode, the fastest I can go is 12 meters a second. So that to me seems like one of the easiest fixes for them to just tune it and give us that little bit more like advertised. But maybe there's something more to this. Maybe there is an issue there that if they bring it up to that speed, it will reveal something else they're currently working on. So sport mode does not work still right now. So all of that being said, yes, I know it's early on. Technically, this has not been released yet. Now, I think they have to rush even faster working on these updates than they normally would have, because had this not been sold by Autel Pilot or anybody else, then they wouldn't be in such a rush, because right now people like me are reviewing this and giving them bad marks on things. So I'm going to be fair, Autel, and I'm going to make sure in all my videos, also for you viewers, that until it is released, I will make sure I say, you know, in all fairness, Autel did not mean for this to actually be in my hands right now. And they're having to super rush their firmware updates. And so far, you know, 2 updates in a week, 2 or 3 app updates in a week, they are definitely jumping on it. So, oh, one more thing to add into the video before we end it. I did want to say, because I don't hide things, unfortunately I was not recording with the quad when I was testing the obstacle avoidance. I didn't have record turned on because I had my camera filming me and the quad. But I just wanted to show you how dedicated I am to my testing. These are my props. This is what's left of my props. So all my props except for one broke on my Autel Evo Nano Plus. Obstacle avoidance did not work because the sun was hitting the sensors. And I wanted to get close to a tree just to show you guys the tree. It's not working towards the tree versus not working towards me. And depth perception was off a little bit. And I caught one tiny little branch and I recovered. But then I hovered and just kind of made sure I had my bearings, and it was like that tree just was a magnet sucking it in. And it grabbed hold of it and didn't let go, and the motors did not shut down, and it just the props were cold and they broke quickly. So, you know, it would not shut down. I had to rush over real quick, grab it right out of the tree because it was right, you know, it was right at reach level. I grabbed it and pulled down on the sticks, and it shut down at that point. So I did have a little boo-boo with the quad, and just wanted to make sure I shared that with you guys. So I hope they sell some props soon because I'm down. I've almost used up my extra props. I can't break all my props again. If I do, I'm done, and then I'll have to be testing DJI props to see if they fit, or Paradenofi props to see if they fit, and fly with those. But I am going to contact Autel and beg them, please sell me or send me another spare set of props because I'm done if anything happens again. I will not be testing these sensors till I know for a fact that they work. And I'll be staying away from trees. But that's it, everybody. Thank you for all of those who watched every bit of this, because if you watched every bit of this, I guarantee you picked up some things you didn't know and some things that are good news now that have been fixed. So with that being said, thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up on your way out, and as always, subscribe if you're new to my channel. This is what I do. Try to help you guys out, and always hit that bell for future content notification. Peace and love.